Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hello, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. And today is, I think, Memorial Day 200 and something. I don't know. I'll have to look when I get back to my computer. And we welcome Michael. Give us a call and with your questions and comments.
Thank you, sweetie. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're delighted that you're here, and our Memorial Day inquiry and request goes on, as it will for eternity, and that is the request that you, as we are committed to doing, find one thing in your life, just one. You could do a dozen if you want, but just at least one thing in your life where there's some form of hostility or fear in your life, where you're probably blaming someone else for it, and where you choose to take responsibility and you choose to remove that hostility or fear, that you actually choose to forgive that hostility or fear. Now, our culture teaches us that we forgive people, we forgive circumstances, we forgive situations, we forgive ourselves, and that's what's led to the cumulative insanity of our generations, that we live in this game of denial and blame and thinking everybody else is responsible for what's happening inside of us. What's happening inside of you is happening inside of you. It's yours. If you don't know what the delete key is, then we've got instructions for you. The delete key is called forgiveness in the ancient Aramaic. Nothing to do with letting other people off the hook. It's how you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged in a human form. What is a human form for? Hold a newborn child, which we just got to do a couple of days ago with our brand new grandbaby. Adeline Nora, welcome to our world. And congratulations, Krista. Mom is doing well. For everybody that knows Krista Joy, she's doing well, and the baby is just awesome. And there are some pictures on Facebook, so you can have a look at her sweet face. In any event, the forgiveness process is how you go inside yourself and remove your very capacity for any form of hostility or fear. And that's what we're looking to, is to get to the point where we remove from these, what are designed to be human forms, the non-human attributes. And the non-human attributes are hostility and fear. Holding a newborn child, you know what human attributes are. It's all made of love. Everybody, everywhere on the planet has the same answer all the time for the question. Describe your newborn. Brand new out of the wrapper, they are this awesome presence of love. And you and I are still that. Even when we're not functioning out of that or as that, that's still what we are in our essence. And forgiveness is about removing what never belonged in your field, what never belonged in your so-called body or your mind or your emotions, and getting back to your natural human state. The world tricks us into saying, oh, well, you're only human. Excuse me. Yes, you are human. That is, you are the active presence of love. If you're not functioning out of it, some forgiveness will take you a long way down the road. So we're delighted that you're sharing with us. We're glad to be here. We're approaching this holy day time. It's interesting that they took that word holy day and changed the meaning of it, and it became something about taking time off work and spending money on presents, as opposed to being in the space of our wholeness in who we are. And so we're here to support your wholeness and the restoration of human life to every mind, heart, and being on planet Earth. And we're delighted to be sharing this time with you. We are honored that you're with us. Jeanie, is Dr. Tim with us? Is David with us? Say good morning or good afternoon.
I'm here.
Both are with us. Awesome. Well, hey there, Dr. Tim. How are you, sir?
Doing quite well, thank you. Congratulations, Grandpa.
Thank you. It's pretty cool. Definitely a sweet face, and we've been getting baby time in, which is really awesome. And along with that, doing some writing on the new version of Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and rewriting the Chapter 24 to match with the latest worksheet on the forgiveness process. And for anybody who's not familiar with the forgiveness process that we're teaching, it comes from the ancient Aramaic. We invite you to go to our website, whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. The first 4 items will give you the whole story, the how-to, and guide you through the process with a verbal conversation to just take you step by step through it. So, Dr. Tim, do you have anything to share with us? We haven't been talking with you the last day or two, and delighted to have you back.
Yes, I have. Happy to report that we had our Tuesday group again last night in the new location in Woodstock, Illinois, in the beautiful church building. And people were so full of gratitude for what's been happening with the group for the past few years that somebody suggested we meet for dinner before the group. So we had our first social gathering and had dinner, and then moved on to the group where we were joined by a group of other people, and we had 12 people plus myself in the group. And
awesome.
It included 4 new people who'd never been there before. And had a very powerful worksheet that one of our members did, and it was an excellent demonstration of the worksheet process for the new visitors. And we watched the first half of Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, and had a wonderful evening.
Cool. How's the feedback on the new version of the worksheet from the group?
It's mixed. Somebody last night made a comment that he's one of our more steady attendees, and he was comparing it to the 12-step, and he felt as though it was, how did he say that? Something about how this is, the 7-step tries to be like a Cliff's Note version, and he finds reading it out a long form through the 12-step to be clear for him. But in full disclosure, he's been coming to the group for a couple of years now and working with the 12-step without any variation. So it's all new.
Right.
Right. And we're trying to do the newer 7-step in the group just to get some feedback and see how it goes, and then we'll let the group people decide each time they want to do a worksheet if they want to do the old 12-step or the newer 7-step. But we discussed the issues and the ideas of being really clear about how the process of having a goal that results in me feeling a negative emotion means, that's setting off my alarm system to let me know that I'm doing something wrong. And one of the things I can do to get out of that is cancel the goal and ask to be shown what that's hiding from me. And then the other thing that came up last night, which was a really nice feature of the new worksheet, is that where you explicitly state that we're releasing all of the dis-ease energy from our self and from our relations and our generations. Because the woman who was doing the worksheet last night was doing a worksheet about some situation with her sister. And then after she got through most of the worksheet, and we were asking to release and see what happened and what she had been revealed, she burst into tears and talked about how she'd been reading a book. She just finished reading a book about the heritage of her country. She is Polish on both sides. And she gave a very impassioned description about how Poland used to be, I think she said, half the size of Russia. and they weren't warlike, and so they got chewed up in bits and pieces by neighboring countries that were just taking their land and killing their people. And she said, and so when this was going on in Germany with Hitler, he basically wanted to just kill all the Polish people so he could take all of their land. And she just was crying and stuck and frustrated. And one of our members pointed out, this is exactly why it says in the worksheet process, we cancel all disease-producing energies from our relations and generations. And, of course, that opened up some more and gave her some more tears and allowed her to breathe and move the process even further. So tying it in even further, another woman was listening and said, well, in the individual worksheet, she had talked about the problem being that she was young, probably under 6 years old, and running around and joyful and happy and free. And those were the same words she used to describe the Polish people who were happy and free and living without war when they were encroached upon by neighboring countries who were killing their people and taking their land. So it was very powerful, very emotional. And it was a wonderful.
And that's exactly why we're doing the work we're doing, and exactly why we're put out the invitation at the beginning of every show that there would be no reason for war, there would be no war if we didn't have people who had internalized hostility and fear that cut them off from source. You go back to the ancient teachings, and the man named Yeshua said, I come to bring you life and bring it more abundantly. When people are cut off from their internal source of abundance, they think they have to go steal it from somebody else. The single cause of war. There are all kinds of, flag-waving, patriotic games that get played. The single cause of war is, I'm cut off from my source. I think I have to steal it from somebody else. And, of course, they won't come and steal it back if I kill them. So now we have a thing called war, and it's given all kinds of justifications. In fact, there are even churches who have these things called justified war. We need to put an end to that. And this is how we do it. And I know for me, putting that step in the worksheet was a product of my doing the 5 worksheets a day and realizing more and more how important it is. And now that it's in there in writing, each time I'm doing a worksheet, I'm really, with each issue that I look at, I'm able to do kind of a mental review of what do I know of my mother and my father around this issue, and my grandparents and their parents. And then I can only imagine, living in, of course, what was called the old country, living in Europe, with those kinds of things happening. What have my forebears gone through that I can now, and they had no idea there was a way to process through it. They were told church was about this, domineering God that was going to kill them if they didn't obey, as opposed to the active space of the presence of love that they could come to heal. And so we're here to restore that active space and that active presence of love and to dissolve this. But I know that it's been impactful for me, each worksheet that I've done, to really stop at that step in the worksheet and think about what my forebears have been through. And then it, personally, for me, it's sort of opened another space of willingness to open and to be able to embrace that from within myself and begin the deletion process. It's been a really powerful step for me.
Well, it's been a big, powerful week and another wonderful group session, and it's a thrill to be part of the team.
It is thrilling, isn't it?
Yep.
We did get to, it was just a small group, but before we left Florida, we did get to do another Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, and found that once again, it seems that this worksheet is, I think, the most teachable one we've had so far, and that people who are just totally new to it are just in one sitting getting it and going, okay, I got it. And then the feedback I've gotten from a couple of people is, I'm remembering each step. It's like reviewing the whole workshop. It's like the whole workshop in a condensed form right there in front of you. And the reasons why, especially in number 5, for the most difficult part of the process, which is about the illogical step of canceling your goal, but is the core of forgiveness. Because, of course, it's the goal that recruits the brain cells that contain the hostility and fear to make us stupid and warlike and insane and all those crazy things. So it's pretty cool and pretty exciting to teach. And we are certainly here to support anybody and everybody in doing the process. And, Jeanie, just to check in to see, are there any callers or anything happening in the chat room?
Is the only 27,430.
I can't hear Jeanie.
Yeah, she's got the location we're in. Her phone isn't working there, so maybe Jeanie, you want to come in here and use my phone? So she's doing technical difficulties. So anyway, David, are you with us today? Hello, David.
I am, Michael. Hello.
Awesome, sir. How do you be?
I'm doing well. Nice to hear Tim's voice again.
Yes.
Hello, David.
Hey, Tim. Happy holidays to you, my friend, in case I miss you before the next time that we're on.
Same to you.
Good.
A wonderful holiday season.
Yep.
David, we had a bit of a conversation yesterday about that particular step in the worksheet that Tim and I were just talking about. Do you have any other thoughts on it, or how it's impacting you? That one of I'm going to heal this for all. I'm going to look at this and process out this disease energy from all my relations, which is a play, or at least an extension of an Indian idea, rather than just saying all my generations. But the Indians were so savvy that they had a word which was matakwiyasan, and what they did when they entered into a healing circle or into any healing process, they did it for the generations. And it's interesting how we're one of the few cultures in the world that doesn't realize the impact of the generations and the responsibility of taking charge of and taking care of our genetics. It's such a precious gift. If you look in the Orient, and if you go into an Oriental restaurant, oftentimes you'll see a statue or a picture of a leader, and there'll be food and offerings there, or the ancestors, because they knew that we're all connected. We're in this together. And as we open up to that again, and we become caretakers of our genetics, our culture has told us, go pollute yourself. It doesn't matter what to do. Just go pollute it, and who cares? And people have bought into that, much to their pain and destruction. And so to restore the understanding that we are the caretakers of this vibratory pattern called our genetics, and that we need to be about cleaning it up is pretty powerful. So is anything for you to share on that idea? And Jeanie tells me we've got a caller when you're finished.
As you and I talked about it, the real challenge for me is to always stay focused and to know that what it is that I'm processing is within me, and that it is something that I've carried from my genetics. And as long as I'm tapping into who it is that I am and holding that space on a generational level, then it opens the space for others. And the real work is for me to focus on whatever it is that's going on for me at that particular time. And there are times when things will surface when I'm doing worksheets, the programming and the training and the information that my mind took on and to look at and interpreted in a certain way. And it's really about me taking a look, and for me to do my very best. As I was saying to you yesterday, I think the very best thing that I can do for the world is for me to be the very best me, and healing and cleaning up whatever that it is that I'm carrying, of which I choose to look at that I came into this world by choice. And so it is about me cleaning up whatever it is that's surfacing within me. And when I do that, well, then I get it that I'm holding the space and taking on those energies that I've invited myself to be in and to be part of. And it's a process, man. It's just the process with all of it. Nice to hear that there's so many people that are tapping into the new worksheet and that it's making sense for them to see it on a generational level.
Are you there, David?
I am.
Oh, okay. Okay, I lost you there for a second. Yeah, it's so urgent for us to be cognizant of that. And one of the things we talked about in the show the last couple of days, Tim, was another piece of the puzzle for me, was that, in the early steps of the worksheet, we look at feelings and then recognize that feelings are shadows of thoughts. And I came in touch with her. I was working on a particular issue, and I got in touch with the fact that this was not a thought that I could bring to cognitive awareness. And what I realized was that it was a power person dynamic. And so the reaction that I was working with from within myself, I could see was purely from my power person. And it wasn't connected to, or at least in any way I could get in touch with. I'm sure at some point if I get to the depth of genetics of it, I'll find it. But at this stage, it wasn't connected to a thought. It was just a pure power person reaction. The thing we talk about, the power person, is the three levels of behavior. When there's no stress, you do what you did to get along with your power person. When stress starts to build, you do what you did to resist and survive. And then when ultra stress, do what your power person did that you hated the most. And so here was this reaction that I was dealing with in myself. And as I did the worksheet, I came back and came in touch with, this was something related to Dad. And Dad's, as my power person, was his reaction, and it would just come up and take over. And so it was really a nice refinement for me to get in touch with, this one isn't necessarily going to be connected to a thought, when I recognize that it's a power person reaction, and that it takes a whole other level of commitment to deal with those ones, because there's been so much energy poured into them through the generations. As the offspring of my parents, I have their genetics, so everything, every thought, every feeling, every reality they have stored is part of my structure. And then whenever that was triggered, especially in this case in Dad, up it would come. And it's kind of like me being the junior tuning fork and he being the senior tuning fork, as he would send out his energy. I had no choice at that point, without the awareness, that just took it on. And then here I am years, decades later, a situation presents itself, and that energy comes up, that tuning fork vibrates, and up it comes. And so I realized that to deal with those power person dynamics, where it's not as simple a thing as just changing a thought, it takes a whole other level of commitment to be willing to work through that level of reaction and that level of energy. So that was another new piece of the puzzle for me that has come in from the worksheets I've been doing the last couple of weeks. So, Jeanie, we have a caller, 5-1. You're on. Where are you calling from? Sounds like Oregon, I think. 541, you're on the air. Are you with us?
Julie Matthews.
Well, hey there, young lady.
Hi. Hey, congratulations on your beautiful granddaughter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a very exciting time, for sure, here in St. Louis.
I have a surprise for you. I'm up in Portland, and guess who's with me?
Hi, Michael.
Really?
Jeanie is dead.
Well, hey there, young man. How are you?
I'm awesome. Well,
that's good.
I am.
You're at your new home in Portland?
Yes, actually. And I have the rest of the week off. It's wonderful. No flying around the country. I have not yet tried your new worksheet, Michael.
I don't know. Can you hear us? Should be.
Did we lose you?
You're there.
Oh, okay. We thought we lost you for a second here.
Well, I don't hear Michael, but I can hear you guys. This is Tim.
Okay, and I'm here as well. I had pushed my mute button, but I think you're going to find, Ed, that it's fun. And for those who don't know Ed, Ed's a gentleman who invited us out to Oregon a few months ago, and we did a series out there, and we thank you for that, Ed. And then Ed's been traveling around the country and around Canada, and new job, and so we're glad to hear your sweet voice.
Well, thank you. It's great to hear you and listen to you again, which doesn't happen often enough in my world because of the busyness.
Well, you might want to just take a look at whether that busyness is a way of drugging yourself, because it is one of the most common drugs on the planet. Next to hostility, it's about the most common one.
Well, I think it's about the money drug more than anything right now.
One drug or another.
Yeah, paying the bills is kind of a fairly necessary thing to do, for sure.
Yeah. So, Michael, I've been going through a lot of fear of survival. Like, how am I going to survive? Where am I going to survive? Just like a lot of just bottom of the barrel. What's going to happen? And it's kind of just an experience, that I've always kept at bay and controlled in my life. And for example, I'm just, it's tainting everything I see, and so I'm untainting my vision. Like in Portland here, hope there's no Portland listeners that will probably disagree with me, but I've only been here a week, and it's been gray the whole time and drizzly. And, and I'm a California girl, and I'm not used to this. It usually goes away. Huh?
I hear that one loud and clear. I know we spoke at, or we were set up to speak at the Unity Center there a couple of years ago, and we arrived, and the weather was pretty nice, and we spoke at the first service on Sunday morning, and during the service there were a few snow flurries that came down. Nothing, of course, for a Canadian, and everybody was in a tizzy. Oh, we need to close. We can't do the second service. No, there won't be any workshop this afternoon. We're closing the doors. And there's about 4 or 5 inches of snow, and the whole town closed down. And, of course, I found out that they've only got a few snowplows, so that's kind of a necessity. But it was an interesting event. I'd never seen over a few flurries. I mean, it was literally just a few flurries that weren't staying on the ground, but it was like, we're closing. It's done. Everybody's going home. It's kind of...
Yeah, being reactive like that, it really is, it gets us off our higher commitment goals, and I'm having to look at how easily swayed I am and how I really, the thing that's been choosing for me my whole life has never made good decisions, and isn't who I want in charge anymore, but I let that be in charge, and I lived according to its dictates. So it's weird to be without a job and without a home, because I'm just letting myself let that be. Well, it's hard, though. It's not easy. But I'm trying not to dress myself with what I've always dressed myself with, and then kept all the other pain out of my life, because I'm allowing it to come up. And I have a lot of compassion for the people who don't have homes. It takes so much to make a home in this world, in this country. It's such a demanding of our life's energy experience. But, I was walking my dog in the gray skies and sometimes drizzling, and he doesn't care. He's a Siberian Husky, and he's fine, and I'm going, why am I so resistant to this? And finally I just had to change the filter in my mind and see love and light and realize that I am the color in the world. Everything can be gray, but I bring the color. I bring the life and the light. And so it's my commitment to that that makes life worth living here, no matter what it looks like. Because I was buying into beliefs that things people told me about how this is the highest suicide rate city in the nation, and right next to it is Seattle. And they've attributed it to the weather because they measured it one year when there was an increase in gray and rain here, that there was a proportionate increase in suicides, in the suicide rate. And I'm going, well, people can use numbers to measure anything any way they want to. So, but in the decision-making process of weighing the pros and the cons, which the ego likes to do, I'm trying to evaluate from what other people say, maybe I shouldn't live here because that's a bad thing, and so it's hard to break through all that, but not impossible, and I know the wisdom
Of course, when you look at your speech, you're back to an old reality that you deal with of life is hard. It's hard. And so when you see that key word coming in, there's where you want to do some worksheets on how your family system and your tradition has been to create it being hard, and then moving to something easier. One of the things I might suggest you do is jump on the web and Google John Ott, O-T-T, and the word light. And what you'll find is a full-spectrum light manufactured by a man named John Ott, and I've seen them for as little as $20. Get one and make sure that when you're working on the computer or you're sitting around reading or whatever, you've got a Ott light going. And that's full spectrum light, just like sunlight. It takes a place of it, $20. You get bigger, fancier ones, $40, $60, $80, $100. But John was a photographer, actually, who worked for Disney. And he discovered that, or rediscovered that light was a nutrient. He actually was doing time-lapse photography of pumpkins, of all things, and he was doing something for Disney to get these time lapse for I think it was for Snow White, and he was taking these pictures, and the pumpkin season ended, and he didn't get a full shot of them, so he had to shut the experiment down. And then the next year he went back and did these time lapse pictures again. However, I don't remember the exact details, but there's a male pumpkin plant and there's a female, and the female flowers and the male doesn't, or vice versa, whichever way it is. And the next year we went back and there were almost no flowers, which was kind of strange because a year before there was an abundance of flowers. And he started to look at the what and why of it, and he found that what they did during the season when they were closed was they changed all of the fluorescent lights. And they changed from whatever it was, a blue light, to a cool white light or whatever, which changed the frequency. And the frequency changed the sex of the offspring of the pumpkins, frequency of light. Oh. And then he went into research, and he showed that there are cancers caused by a lack of full-spectrum light. Depression is a result of, in many cases, a lack of that nutrient light, and the pineal gland shut down. And interestingly enough, when we look at the physiological effects of emotional suppression, when one suppresses the natural enthusiasm of the human being, the natural aliveness of the human being, that starts to shut down the pineal gland, which is the light receptor and light-sensitive gland that controls the whole endocrine system. And so there's now science behind it, but get an Ott light and spend some time under it, and you won't have to have any concerns whatsoever about those gray skies.
I'm putting that on my Christmas list. Thank you. That is awesome.
Good idea.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we love you both so much, and it's been, amazing to feel the depths that everyone on your team, and I guess I am too, that's working at the level on these worksheets. And my buddy and I in Ashland area, her name is Kim. She listens regularly. She's been a really good buddy for me. Ed couldn't be a buddy quite, but now that he's got some days off, we're going to do some together. So thank you. The depth is amazing. It's amazing to hear.
Well, we're delighted to be on your team and to have you joining us and supporting us and the support groups you've gotten going and the work that you guys did. And it opened the door and you carried the ball and got us there. We had an awesome time, did some great processing work, and the work goes on, and that's what our commitment is, to take it to every community on the earth, ultimately, and to inspire others who will support and assist by taking it to every community on the earth. You might check in with Unity. The folks who run the Unity Center there are very familiar with my work. The minister used to be in Dayton, Ohio, and she and her mother run the church.
Oh.
They would probably be wide open to a support group, and if that got going, that would draw us back to Portland again. And of course, this time we'd have to come when there isn't the danger of snow. We'd had actually a full week set aside to be doing workshops, and the whole series was snowed out over a couple of inches of snow.
Well, Michael, you know that we don't own snow shovels in Portland.
Say it again, Ed?
You know that we don't own snow shovels in Portland.
Well, from where he's coming, there's snow, I guess.
No. I'm sorry, did you hear me? Did it come through?
I think this.
Yes, I did hear you, and as I say, I understand they have very few snowplows because it's such a rare event, and so no snow shovels, no snowplows. I guess you just close things up when the snow comes, the occasional time that it does.
Well, let's make it in the summer.
There you go.
Come out here. Yeah, we'll see what we can set up. That would be fun. I wanted to mention, I don't know if Carolyn is listening right now, but I'd love for us to send her some love and light and support from our family here because, she was having a hard time with her going to visit her family. And she's learning a lot, but she felt like she was going to be on her own. And so I just wanted to remind her, if she happens to be listening, that she's not alone and we're all
right. Well, she went yesterday, didn't she? If I remember correctly.
I think Monday, but maybe Tuesday. I don't know.
Okay.
Monday night.
Now I know that I was focusing on her and sending her the support and the space to be with her family and to be opening the space for the next level of healing.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
An awesome thing for this community to be supporting everybody else in. It's just fabulous.
Yeah. Well, gee, it seems like everybody must be out Christmas shopping. You must have more callers now, maybe. See what Jeanie says. What's going on, Jeanie? Thank you, Michael.
All right. Well, thank you for your call. Ed, it's great to hear your voice. Glad things are going well, and we'll look forward to the next time we get face-to-face.
Never forgetting about you, Michael.
All right. I appreciate it, sir. Blessings. So, Jeanie, do we have any callers? Anything happening in the chat room to be aware of?
We have several people on the switchboard, and they're all just listening. Nobody has their hand up. In the chat room, it's been like Tim and Nene are the only two that are out there, so I'm not sure what's going on there because yesterday we had 20-some people in the chat room. So it's real quiet today. I guess, like Julie said, everybody's Christmas shopping.
Yeah, it could well be. And maybe Nene wants to call and just say hello, and we can continue the process from the other day.
So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Give us a call. Nene says yes, she'll call in. And so give us a call, ask your questions, comments. We'd love to hear from you. So we're waiting now for Nene to dial in, and then we'll turn her on. Well, it may take just a few minutes.
So can you hear me all right, Michael?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Okay, I've been having a little phone trouble here, so I tried to comment a couple times. It's really powerful, and the stuff that got stirred up last night in the group led to more processing and some of that energy work I was doing this morning, and it went back to issues with my questions about my father and his father. So my point is, it's just fascinating how if you open yourself or you start the conversation, you open the energetic window and then connections start to come. It's really just a matter of being willing to look. And I realized this morning, to my great surprise, that even though I was a doctorate in clinical psychology and had been in practice for a number of years before he died, I don't think I ever asked my father what his relationship with his father was like, or if he remembered his father, since his father died when he was 6 years old. And so I've decided, after having that realization this morning and some of the work I was doing, that I'm going to tap into some of the exercises we were talking about last week. For instance, doing a worksheet as though I were my father, and perhaps writing a letter from my father to me about any issue that's up at the time, or perhaps about his relationship with his dad. So I just wanted to thank you for that, for the issues that we were dealing with last week, and they continue to bubble to the surface and provide good material.
That's awesome. And, that process of drilling down into those hidden brain cells, the content that ends up becoming motivation, ends up becoming decisions and behavior, is just so incredibly valuable. I just can't say enough about how important it is, if we're going to live a true human life and a conscious life, to be able to, you go back into the ancient teachings and they said, inquire of the generations. Interview the generations and what they thought and what they felt and how they behaved and what they taught. Interview them in the context of truth, because if you don't have truth in the mix, if you keep rolling along in, well, there's a lie, but we don't want to face it, and we don't want to deal with it, and we don't want to talk about it, and we certainly don't want to offend the previous generations by actually, questioning what they taught us, then we are totally and completely out of love with the Creator. Now, if you listen, Yeshua in the Aramaic, and it's not a theological, it's not a religious language. The Creator is love. We're designed to be in full relationship with love continuously, but he says it has to be in truth. And if it's not truth, then, and you're not willing, if you don't love truth enough to be willing to really inquire and to throw out what isn't true, then you can't have that relationship. So it's interesting. People oftentimes cling to untruth in order to pretend they've got relationship with the Creator. They've never experienced it, but they pretend they have. And then when that non-truth is threatened, it's like, well, no, don't you dare make me question that, because that's just the way it is. I know, my parents beat it into me, or my preacher, or whatever. And, it's just time for us to really love truth enough to be able to throw out what doesn't fit, what isn't in harmony with the principles that the man we say we want to follow taught. And so it is a big thing to question the generations, the traditions. But you look at what the man named Yeshua said, and he said, you've made the laws of our Creator of nil effect by your tradition, by the traditions of men. And so we want to be able to dump the traditions of men. And one of the ways you can tell if a tradition is of the non-human source or if it's of the Creator is it based in hostility or fear? If it's based in hostility or fear, it is not a tradition from the Creator. It's a fraud. It's just not true. And so to get back to the truth about the whole game of life and the fact that it's based in the active presence of love, to me, becomes urgent.
So Nene's with us.
Oh, welcome, Nene. How are you today?
Hello, my heart family.
Are you on the other side of that healing process?
I am coming out, yes. I spent the whole day yesterday, and I did a lot of work, and I was able to just be with my feelings and invoking Ruha to do my inner part. And yeah, they are pretty much out of there. I'm just a little bit tired today. And thank you so much. I had no idea that, it was denied. You think because you don't think about it that it's done, and it's this job really allows you to understand what you deny and suppress, and it was there.
Well, I acknowledge your willingness to look at it and to work in and out and through the other side, because without that willingness, it can't happen. And without that deep love of truth, being able to and willing to question the traditions of the generations that take us out of harmony with the principles that were taught by those that knew, it's a major task to be able to do that. So I congratulate you on your willingness.
Thank you. And also, I would like to share that, lately, the last 3 months, ever since I started really going deeply into the workshops and the study, and then every day doing the transformation, I've noticed my relationships in general are better. The first one with myself, of course. And then last week I had a call from an old friend. We dated shortly, but he was very hostile, whatever triggered in him. And when he was in that mood, or in cut in his carbon-based memory, his words were very ugly. And so, we broke up because I said, listen, you can't treat me like this, and we broke up. And then he called me, like after a year, because he had cancer. And I remember his mother died of cancer. And he also, after he got divorced, part of him denying dealing with his relationships was just becoming like a mother of his children. So he only had time for that. He never had time for anything, nor dates or really any intimate anything, because they were always, the children, the baseball, super busy. Anyhow, so after he called me and after being in this work, I understood how he had denied and how he has punished his part, and that this cancer, I understood right away, obviously, it was there just about to manifest because of the amount of hostility and fear that he lived. And I know that his mother died when he was 18 in his arms. So obviously, the relationship with women for him are very scary, or trigger his scare or his trauma. But anyway, so we spoke a little bit, and I was able to understand that it's not that he's a bad person, but because he was cut in his hostility and fear, that's why he talks, when he's mad, he talks so ugly. And so guess what? He's going to come next week for a breathing. I'm going to start doing some work on him.
That's fabulous. And, of course, the hostility, every time that you as a woman would get close to that part of him that, perhaps hadn't resolved the pain of his mother dying in his arms, if that resonated, and all it would take would be being in his arms to resonate that, then what would tend to fire under the surface in those uta brain cells that we've talked about, those unconscious dynamics, would be the drug that I anesthetize the pain with, and that's hostility for most people. It's absolutely the most common drug on planet Earth, and what people do is they point the drug or point the hostility, the drug they're using, at the person that resonates the part of their mind that they most need to heal, but they point the hostility of that person in order not to have to feel and deal with what's underneath the hostility. So if they point the hostility at the person who resonates their pain, then the person who resonates their pain will change what they're doing or go away, and they won't have to feel it. As opposed to, when we work through the hostility, it's like, oh, come a little bit closer. I'm ready to deal with this. I'm ready to feel what this feels like, and it's terrible, and it's horrible, and it's painful, and I can come up and out the other side when I'm willing to do my work.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
One of the I don't know. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, you.
I was going to go on to another topic, so go ahead if you had a thought on this one.
Well, no, just so that I was very happy to see myself. He calling me back. He said, "I've been thinking of you the whole year, but I was afraid of calling." And I can see that I've been opening my channels to others, that I was able to attract him now, being able to heal or provide a vehicle, being a vehicle for him to see his own healing. So I'm very, very, very pleased.
Well, that's powerful, and we hold a space that if this is the right direction to go, that together you are able to form this process of healing through relationship rather than just being each other's triggers and then having to move apart. So that would be cool.
Mhm.
We would love to see you have that in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thought that I was going to throw out was that toward the end of yesterday's show, and I don't know if you were still on, but I had put out the thought that, that your process over the last year has been so definable. You've gone through so many stages that perhaps we could do a show if it would be, acceptable to you. And you've shared so much of your personal process anyway, but just to put it together in one show would be pretty cool for you to start tracking how you started, and then what the first issue was, what level that was, the next one, each issue that you've gone through in the last year. I know you've done money issues, you've done relationship issues, you've done your own self-image issues, you've done issues with dad, you've touched in with mom, and so if it worked for you, I think that would be a really powerful picture, because you've made such monumental progress in just short of a year. It would be a really fabulous picture of, okay, folks, if you ever want to look at what the healing process looks like, here's a journal. Here's a verbal journal where we can look at what the average person is going to be looking at to move through those levels of mind that never belonged in our human field in the first place.
Absolutely. I would love to do that, because especially in the last 2 months that I've been, studying and doing and this participating in the show, and really being completely honest with myself when things are triggered, and being honest and be willing to work. And I've seen the big change in myself. Hello?
There's a lot of static on somebody's phone.
Is that okay? Here. So yes, I would love to do that.
Cool. Well, maybe if you start, thinking about that, maybe go back through some of your worksheets. I know you've got that binder there that we saw when we were there the other day, and maybe just
I have the binder and 3 notebooks.
There you go. So maybe just do a timeline of what the processes look like, and if we took an hour to share that, I think that would be very inspiring for people, to give them a really clear picture of, here's what it looks like. I of course, in the workshop, I would say, well, it's not Dr. Feelgood, but to have a show that we could point people to as to, here's what you can expect to go through, and here are the results. I started out in day 1 as this, and then this issue moved, and I started to feel this way, and then came the next deeper layer, and then the next deeper, and the next deeper. I think it would be a really awesome show. Yes,
awesome, yeah. I remember with my dad was very revealing, first one here in Fort Lauderdale, and then when we were when I was in the intensive, the next layer that I didn't realize of the physical abuse that I was a witness in my family, that it was so denied that I didn't realize. You say, oh no, I come from a beautiful, loving family.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start static is coming from, but our phones are pretty staticky right now.
Okay, here it is. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. I'm delighted. I'm very happy, after he left. He says, I'm coming back next week because I said, I would like your word about this, if you're open and receptive. And he said, yes, I'll come back. So he's going to come to start his treatment.
Cool. Fabulous. Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, anything else to share? We're getting close to the last 4 or 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah. Well, I invite everybody to use this tool and be inspired by the season, the solstice, and all these ceremonies, the Hanukkah, the Christmas, it all being reflected as the internal light, be connected to that source that's always expanding and encompassing. I invite to do more healing this time of the year.
Good invitation. Good thought, Nene. Thank you. And David, do you have any thoughts to share with us? We're coming down to the last couple of minutes of the show. These hours are going by. It seems faster every show than the last one. You with us, David? Must have the mute button on. How about you, Dr. Tim? Do you have any final thoughts for what we've talked about today? Or
well, I think it's a great idea to have Nene give us an overview, and certainly, as somebody who's been doing the work for a while, it's been just inspirational to find someone like Nene and Dayu who pick up in a very short period of time and start adding creativity and plenty of energy and doing workshops. So I think it's great to hear somebody say, well, I've been doing the work for 20 years, and that has its own level of inspiration and perseverance that can motivate people. But it's also great to find somebody who just stumbled into it a month or two ago, and it's already transforming their lives. So I'm excited. I look forward to that overview of Nene's progress through the past year, and maybe you can get a whole new wave of people inspired to either start groups or join groups or come to intensives.
Fabulous. Very cool. And David, are you still with us? I guess, is David dropped off, Jeanie? Well, I guess his voice isn't coming through, or he doesn't have anything to say. So anyway, we're coming down to the close of the show. If you are ready to do a new level of your work, or to jump into this work, you might want to make a trip to Fort Lauderdale next week. We're going to be doing starting on the 7th of January, we'll be doing a full week of workshops, including MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. And look on the website, whyagain.com. You'll see the schedule will be around Florida. We're looking at perhaps somewhere around the first week of April, maybe doing a 9-day intensive here in Florida too. So if anybody's interested in that, you could let us know. We've got a really nice place right on the water that's a possibility for us doing an intensive if a group comes together. So check our website for the calendar, and please bring a stranger to the show with you tomorrow. We're delighted to be sharing with you. Have a blessed day, and get ready for the best year yet of your eternal life. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.